Is this video about false rape allegations? Is this video about rumor and innuendo and gossip and drama? I don't want to think so. I want to think we're going to deal with something a lot more meaningful and a lot more important here about what it means to grow old, what it means to be mature, how it is any of us can take responsibility for our own mental and moral cultivation and development as the years go by. And yeah, it's about an ongoing dispute between myself and Richard, also known as Vegan Gains. I have here on screen, not the first email, but the last email I sent to Richard on this topic. And I said to him directly, Richard, from this timestamp, this is only 5 minutes long, whereas the other videos on this topic on my own channel are 45 plus minutes long. There's the link. Yes, Hannah told me it was not rape privately. Yes, Hannah told the whole world it was not rape publicly. And she confirmed that after the fact in correspondence with me, in email that there are screenshots of shown in those videos linked to and alluded to. Is there more to the story? Sure. However, this really does matter in the context of rape allegations. I would be a complete hypocrite if I only objected to Durianrider making false sexual allegations against me, and I didn't object when similar allegations were being made against Durianrider, and I know of counter evidence myself. So, in a recent video that I'm sure Richard also watched, I asked the question, why is it considered extraordinary to stand up against racism when that racism would benefit you when you're in that category in the dispute? Why is it considered extraordinary or remarkable to be opposed to an apartheid state if you yourself would be in the class of people who benefit and so on? Look, guys, I dislike Durianrider. There are a lot of ways in which I can say he's unreliable or dishonest or even crazy. That doesn't mean that the people making allegations against him are being honest. And I don't think it makes me a good person morally that I was willing to stand up for the truth and what's right simply because it's true and right. I think it simply makes me not a bad person. There's a distinction there, and it's a distinction we deal with within veganism all the time. That being vegan isn't really morally virtuous, it's just refusing to conform with something that's actively immoral and evil. There's got to be a difference between truth and fiction. And when you're standing up for the truth, it shouldn't matter to you whether people are your friend or your enemy. Justice and injustice, you guys fill in the blanks.
So just this video here, just a sincere apology to and I guess also a bit of a thank you, maybe a bit of a thank you as well when it goes into this whole, nasty stuff that's not good for the vegan movement at all. So I would say, thank you, Richard, for seeing that light and deleting all those videos. Hopefully we can move forward now and promote the vegan message, get it out there, stuff like that. So it's good that you've taken those videos down, because it doesn't help anyone go vegan. What caused this? What instigated this? I guess Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil, who I guess I maybe own a. I'm not sure if I own an apology to him, but maybe a thank you for. He also deleted videos about me after our crazy stalker duo from Norway. The lady talked with Isel, Dr. Evil, on the phone or Skype or whatever it was, and she admitted that she had been lying, And so Isel was like, hang on, I can't support that. As much as I don't like Durianrider, and I'll raise $10,000 for Durianrider in prison, I can't support a full slanderous video about Harley. Isel saw through that, and I guess Richard saw through that as well. So they deleted all their support for our crazy duo from Norway. So thanks to Dr. Evil and VG.
If you guys know me, you'll know that I want to get into the meaning of life discussion here as quickly as possible, and I don't really relish the possibility of going over the details of false rape allegations again. However, as I said earlier, that was not the first email I sent Richard. And by the way, I've had a reply from Richard from that same email account more recently in this discussion. He did not respond to this, but I have every reason to think he got those emails. I have every reason to think he saw the videos about this on my channel when they were first posted before that, and he was really choosing to disregard the evidence. Richard, did you see the videos I posted with direct quotations from written correspondence with Hannah Chloe and Norwegian on this matter? The fact that Durianrider lies does not, sadly, mean that other people in this equation are telling the truth. So, pause. The fact that Durianrider is an unreliable source of information does not mean that Vegan Gains is a reliable source of information. This sadly applies across the board. The fact that Durianrider lacks moral integrity doesn't mean that Richard has got it. Now, conversely, what if you're wondering about me? Do I have moral integrity? Well, look, I told the truth when it was disadvantageous to me in this dispute with Durianrider. I told the truth when it was disadvantageous to me when it was Vegan Cheetah making false allegations against Durianrider. I told the truth when it was disadvantageous to me when it was Richard, Vegan Gains, making false allegations against Durianrider. The fact that I don't want Durianrider making false allegations doesn't mean that I would back up false allegations against Durianrider. So some people have integrity and some do not. All right? And those questions of moral integrity ultimately are related to the meaning of life and learning, keeping an open mind and taking on board new evidence as life goes on. And again, this is ultimately about Richard. This is about Vegan Gains. Why, even if he didn't already know this evidence when I presented it to him, I have every reason to think he did. He already knew about the stuff, that he was choosing to disregard it. Why didn't he just stop and say, oh, wow, this is a totally new perspective on this issue. Gee, I got to go back to the drawing board. Right? This comes back to the fundamental topic of this video and what is going to be in the title of this video. There's being stupid and there's staying stupid, right? Like, I know we're all born ignorant, but one of the ways you stay ignorant, you stay stupid, is by covering up your eyes and ears whenever someone tells you something that you don't want to hear. So I'll stay on this for a moment, I guess. One conversation I had with Richard, he was defending people playing video games, because I've had many videos on this channel where I state my opposition to playing video games, so to speak. Even though my own daughter at age 5 plays video games, and I buy video games for my daughter, and to some extent encourage her to play video games. We talked about this with her. I remember I said to her, playing video games is childish, and I hope you realize that in the future, one day, I'm going to say to you, it is time to put childish things away. That, after a certain age, playing video games is not appropriate anymore. It's okay now that you're 5 years old. We can play video games together. As adults, it's really another thing. And she actually really agreed with me. It was interesting to get her perspective on that. That she's aware playing video games is a waste of time, and she's aware that at 5 years old, you still got a lot of time to waste, I guess. Anyway, Richard was writing to me, and he defended video games by claiming, understandably enough, he said that I still think of video games the way they were decades ago when I was a child, and that I didn't realize that they had now become something much more sophisticated, that they were something more like watching a movie. And to that I replied, Richard, if I knew someone who watched movies for 40 hours a week, I'd have the same objection. Like, from my perspective, you're not raising video games above scrutiny by saying that they're on the same level as a movie. I have no objection to that. My objection is not based on cultural snobbery. If I knew someone who watched movies for 40 hours a week, or even 20 hours a week, or even 10 hours a week, I think there'd be a real question of, hey, for you as an adult, aren't there better things you can and should be doing with your time? So I think that's an issue, not just with video games. And the problem with Richard, what I said in my earlier video, and what he didn't respond to, he responded to everything else. He responded to penis size and all kinds of irrelevant things you've already seen on screen. I'm asking about leading a meaningful life. I'm asking about growing wiser as we grow older. Those are the questions I really want to raise. And Richard's commitment to just doing whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it, including making false rape allegations and so on, that's locking him into a perpetual childhood. I would have treated this correspondence as private forever, but Norwegian stated that he would make it public, and he did. Therefore, I made it public also. And indeed, his coverage of the correspondence between us was extremely biased and unfair, skipping over and misrepresenting what I'd said. All right, then I have the link to the 2 long videos. This material is boring to watch. However, 1, verbally, via Skype, Hannah spoke to me directly, describing her encounter with Durianrider as normal sex, not rape, no suggestion of anything like sexual assault, etc. 2, in written form on the internet, she made a public statement that there was no rape, and that she was not making an allegation of anything like rape. This was her stated position, both privately and publicly, for a long time. 3, you can consider the timeline at the end of Norwegian's own final video as to just how late in the legal process they even considered or attempted to construct sexual assault allegations. Guys, I hate to tell you this, if you know anything about the process of the law, these things really do invalidate your claims in court. In some cases, people who are really guilty get away with crimes because of these kinds of problems on the side of the prosecution, the side of the victim, or what have you. But there are really, really serious inconsistencies, shall we say, in Norwegian's side of the story, which would be evident just from a careful observation of Norwegian's story as he constructed and presented it, which is something Richard was not interested in doing. However, I had my own evidence, which I already presented. 4, in this same correspondence shown in these 2 videos, Hannah is still not claiming rape, nor anything like rape. There are many, many things stated in your new video, your Part 2 versus Durianrider, that I consider to be factually wrong. Durianrider is an unreliable source of information. However, Norwegian also is an unreliable source of information. You also, Richard, are an unreliable source of information. I have never made up lies about Durianrider. My criticism of him has always been factual, and I can even say that it has been fair. There are many other factual areas in which you could criticize Durianrider productively, for example, his claims about curing various incurable diseases, etc., but your commentary on his sex life is either poorly informed or dishonest. Or, as you know, it could be both. So, you know, in terms of what he's written in to me again, Vegan Gains just seems, you know, incredibly immature. I put this first screenshot up. This isn't even worth reading. And I mean, it's interesting because the question we were trying to discuss on the channel is, to what extent will Vegan Gains grow up? To what extent will he become more sophisticated or more intelligent as time goes on? And, you know, obviously I'm a pessimist. I think you can see living the life he chooses to live. He's living a life where he chooses to stay stupid. He chooses to shield himself against exactly the sources of new information and challenges to his ego and his assumptions that could bring about some kind of personal growth or new learning. So, should I put on a silly voice? Yes. LOL. Eisel, you accuse me of making rape allegations without evidence, when in fact there's plenty. Yet you accuse people of being racist with absolutely no evidence. Tell me again how big your penis is? So, yeah, you've already seen my reply to that. I have seen. I have not seen every single video Richard's done. I have seen a video in which his girlfriend, his wife now, comments on camera that he has quite a small penis. But you know, guys, like I said, people with bigger ears don't have a better appreciation for opera. And then I replied to the other part of his statement here by saying, regarding LOL, you accuse me of making rape allegations without evidence. No, actually. I stated factually that you made rape allegations that are contrary to the evidence, and that this was evidence you'd already seen on my channel, and that I reminded you of by email. You chose to disregard that evidence, and my interpretation is simply that this is your habit of, quote-unquote, doing whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. Just like Little Cheetah, formerly known as Vegan Cheetah, who also made false allegations against Durianrider, and I also defended Durianrider when that happened, you may recall. TLDR, the summary: some people care about the difference between right and wrong, truth and fiction, and some don't. Getting older and getting wiser are two very, very different things. I read the major works of Aristotle, Politics and Constitution of Athens, at about age 20, and then again at about age 40. My impression and understanding of the book was completely different at those two ages. What if it wasn't? Can you even imagine a parallel universe in which I read the political philosophy of Aristotle? And I'm sorry, I forget. I don't know if I was 18, 19, or 20, 21, something about that age. If I read Aristotle's philosophy when I was 20, and then what did I do? Studied Buddhist philosophy, studied Pali, went to Sri Lanka, went to Cambodia, started learning Laotian, did humanitarian work in Laos, got a series of other jobs. Even the work I did as an English teacher, learned about politics and history, and had so many experiences, personal, professional, political, and otherwise. Got involved in ecological activism, got involved in vegan activism. If I had all of these experiences, and then I went back and read Aristotle again, and it was just the same thing, I just had nothing new to say about it, and I had nothing new to learn from it, what would that say about me? And also, what would that say about the value of reading, Aristotle's philosophy? I'll tell you something else too. I have gone back and looked at video games I played as a child, partly because I'm shopping around for video games for my own daughter. And it's really the opposite experience. I put on Zillion for the Sega Master System. I loved that game. I memorized every room in that game. I don't know what age I was. 11 or younger. Must have been younger than 11. I don't know. I was a little kid. I played that game Zillion. And now if I put it on for 45 seconds, I think, what an abominable waste of time. How can anyone do this for 2 minutes, let alone 2 hours? How can anyone do this with their time? Right? There is a difference, guys. There really is a difference. And for most of us, whether you have a full-time job or not, whether you're raising kids or not, whether you've taken on other responsibilities like adopting rabbits and stray dogs and the things vegan gains does, whether or not you spend 2 hours a day lifting weights at the gym, the number of hours you have to put into challenging yourself, cultivating your mind, not just growing older, but growing wiser. It's too few hours of the day. The number of hours when you're capable of the mental focus necessary to do it. Okay? And it's with that sense of humility and with that sense of responsibility that I've got to invite you and I've got to invite Richard to live your life a little bit more seriously, to be a person of moral and intellectual integrity, to step up to the challenge when someone tells you you've been making lies on the internet about a deadly serious matter like rape allegations, or whether someone tells you, hey, have you ever thought about what goes on in a factory farm? Or hey, have you ever thought about where democracy really comes from and how we ended up with this crazy social and political system we all live in? Keep asking questions. Stay hungry. Stay dissatisfied. And I hope whatever it is you do with your time, you don't end up looking back on it the way I look back on video games like Zillion, with a sense of disgust and remorse and regret and disbelief that I ever thought this was a worthwhile use of my time. Because by contrast, when I look at the philosophy of Aristotle, I go, wow, there was so much here of value. There was so much here to think about that I couldn't understand when I was 20 years old. And there's so much more I get out of it now. And guys, we study history not for what it subtracts from the past, but for what it adds to the present. It's something that really does add to the meaning of my life and what I'm trying to do politically and personally and professionally right now in 2019.